Good morning and welcome back to Burden and Blessing and our daily devotion. We are continuing in our first week of devotions in Bo Giertz's To Live with Christ. Throughout this week we've been considering John 10 and now in the last couple of days also John chapter 11, which speaks about the raising of Lazarus from the dead. Our theme for this day is that Jesus is the Lord of nature. This is something that comes out very clearly in the raising of Lazarus from the dead. One of the things that we see here in this account is that Jesus is indeed the creator of all of the universe. The reason that he has the ability to call Lazarus from death and from that tomb is because he is the one who created that body and gave that body life to begin with. He's the one who made the laws of nature that we are accustomed to, that we must obey, but that also must obey him. He is God. Jesus is God, and this raising of Lazarus from the dead, it proves that it is so. One of the neat things that comes out in this section, it's not so much brought out in the devotion, but in the verses that follow the text for today, is that when the people saw what Jesus did, that he was able to call Lazarus from death and out of the grave, they knew exactly what that proclaimed Jesus to be. And so they went running off to Jerusalem in order to tell the Jewish leaders what Jesus had done. They thought that this event would also prove to the Jewish leaders what they knew to be true, that Jesus was indeed the true God, the promised Messiah, the Savior of all people, the one that they had been waiting for. They recognized too that the raising of Lazarus from the dead proved who Jesus was, that he was the Lord of all creation, the Lord and Master of nature. Bo Giertz is known for making some very interesting and sometimes missed points in very common and familiar stories. And this particular devotion highlights one of those examples. One of the things that Bo Giertz points out in this devotion is that we might often associate the word resurrection with what takes place here in John chapter 11. We even refer to the resurrection of Lazarus from the dead. But he points out accurately that what actually takes place here in John chapter 11 isn't a resurrection, it is an awakening. The Lord awakened Lazarus from death, but he didn't resurrect him. And the reason that Bo Giertz makes that distinction is that resurrection actually highlights something very different, that we are resurrected not to the same old life, but to a new life. When the Lord called Lazarus back to life, he was awakened to the very same life that he had before, to die once again. But when we talk about the resurrection of our Savior Jesus, and our own resurrection on the last day, the awakening of Lazarus simply is a picture of that greater resurrection that we look forward to on the last day. Not a resurrection or an awakening to simply die again, but a resurrection to a new life, never to die again. A resurrection to a new life where we are joined together with our God for eternity. All of this goes back to the truth of the resurrection of our own Savior from the grave on Easter Sunday. May this joy be ours, knowing that he is also able to call our bodies from the grave, not just to awaken them, but to resurrect them once and for all, that we might be with him in his resurrected body for all eternity. He is able to do this because he is the Lord of nature.